What's up, everybody? You are back on the other side with me, Mike G, and today I'm honored to be able to dive into the world of boxing officiating with a man who has stood between the ropes for some of boxing's most iconic moments. He's the referee you've seen in the biggest fights, the calm in the storm, and the one who made fair but firm a global catchphrase. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to introduce you to the one and only Joe Cortez. How are you doing today, sir?
Well, today's another wonderful, beautiful Sunday out here in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's about 85 degrees, beautiful, and it's good to be on your show, buddy. It's about time.
Thank you very much. Let's jump right into it, man. Talk a little bit about where you're from and growing up.
Well, I was born and raised in New York. My parents were from Puerto Rico, and I moved to Puerto Rico in '69. I lived there for about 8 years. But I started boxing back in 1960. I started my Golden Glove championship fights. My first year I went into gloves, Madison Square Garden. My brother Mike and I took the New York Golden Glove championships. Then I fought in the amateurs for about 30 more years after that, and I retired in the amateurs in 1962. I retired from the amateurs. I went into the pros, and then I turned pro. I had 18-1 as a pro.
Mhm.
Boxer got me I think for 13-1, but there's some fights in there that I'm missing, so especially some fights that I had in Mexico. But I had a good career in the amateurs for 43-2, in the pros 18-1. Then seven
Wow.
years later, after I retired from boxing, in the pros, I came back 7 years later as a referee, and
What made you decide to become a referee? Is that something you had always wanted to do? What brought that about?
it was all a blessing in disguise. There was a gentleman by
Okay.
the name of Pat Masher. Pat Masher was a referee in New York in the Golden Gloves, but he used to referee my fights in the Golden Glove championships. And one day, I was managing a hotel in Puerto Rico called the El Conquistador Hotel, and he was a guest at the hotel. And when he heard that I was the manager there, he came up to me and said, "Joe, let's sit down, let's talk a little bit." Then we started talking, and then I said, "I'm moving back to New York next year." He said, "When you get back to New York, give me a call. We'll have some lunch." When I got back to New York the following year, we started talking. He said, "Joe, why don't you become a referee in the amateurs like me?" I said, "Well, I don't know, amateur referee? I never thought of becoming a referee." He said, "We get you started with the Police Athletic League." And that's where it all started. And so, 6 months later, after I did the Golden Gloves, the New York State Athletic Commission, a gentleman by the name of Frank Morris, he was a
Okay.
deputy commissioner in the New York State Athletic Commission, called me and said, "Joe, I saw you last week refereeing the fights at Madison Square Garden, and you look pretty decent. I like your style. You look just like a pro, better than a pro." I said, "I'm only doing this 6 months." He said, "Don't waste your time, Joe. I want to turn you pro now." I said, "But am I going to work?" They told me I got to do 3 to 5 years in the amateur before going pro. He said, "No, no, we'll turn you pro now. We'll give you all the 4 rounders, the 6 rounders on every card we have." So we had like 3 or 4 fights a month in New York at the time. So they were using me on a regular basis. And before you know it, I was doing my first main event on NBC World Sports. And that was the beginning of my career. And then in 1982, 5 years after I turned pro, they had me doing my first world title fight with Aaron Pryor and Miguel Montilla. And then from then on, everything picked up after that, and just an honor. When I retired with 176 world title fights.
Wow. I want to know what is your biggest worry or stress going into your debut referee position in a pro fight? What is your
Well,
biggest worry?
I never worry because you can't go in there worry and kind of nervous. You got to go in there like, well, maybe a little nervous, like when you're a fighter, you're not afraid, just a little nervous because it's gonna be a big event. But my thing is, that when they go into the fights, that I don't want fighters to take unnecessary punishment. I don't want fighters to get hurt. My main concern was the safety of the fighters. That's what I was more worried about. I don't care who won or who lost. I was just there to do a job. First and foremost was the safety of the fighters, and the second was enforcing the rules. And that's how it
Okay.
all started.
Okay. Your signature catchphrase, fair but firm, where did that come from and what does it mean to you?
Well, it means a lot to me. It means a lot to the world. I mean, it really, if
Mm.
you really listen to it, it really has a lot to do with life in itself. You as a person, you have to be fair with people, but by the
Mm-hmm.
same token, you gotta be firm. You can't be, You can't be a weakling out there. You got to be strong.
Yeah.
You got to show authority. And I felt when I was doing an interview like we're doing right now, I listened to the interview after I did the show with some guy in New York. He says, Joe, what does it take to be a good referee, in the ring? I told him, well, you got to be fair with the fighters, but by the same token, you got to be firm.
Hmm.
And then after I saw that, and I remember my rest in peace, my friend Mills Lane used to say, he had his catchphrase, let's get it on, let's get
Hmm.
it on. And I said, he got a nice catchphrase. I like that.
Hmm.
I'm gonna create something different. Being that I listen to my interviews, I said, I'm fair, but I'm firm. I said, I'm
Yeah.
gonna use that. I'm gonna change it a little bit. Hey guys, remember guys, one of the rules in the dressing room, I want a good clean fight. Remember guys, I'm fair, but I'm firm. Touch him up. And I said, I think that good, and it stuck. And people love it. I said, Joe, those words, they use those words every day, but nobody put it together the way you did. It's great.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I love it. Um, I want to name off a handful of significant or important fights that you refereed, and just give me your thoughts on what you think. Tell me what you think about when I bring up these fights, I guess is what
Sure,
I'm saying. All right.
sure. Go ahead.
Oscar De La Hoya versus Julio Cesar Chavez 1.
Well, it was an amazing fight with Caesar's Palace in 1996, I believe it was, and
Hmm.
it was a great fight. I mean, it was the passing of the torch. It was when Oscar De La Hoya was really coming up the ranks, and Julio Cesar Chavez was towards the end of his career. And I remember the first round, De La Hoya hit him with a good straight jab. It was a jab, a good
Hmm.
hard jab, and it cut him right over the eye. It was a nasty cut. I mean, I didn't realize it was that nasty until I called time at the time, and I brought him up to the doctor, Flip Omansky, to check him out. He checked him out, and I saw the cut was about an inch across, and
Hmm.
you couldn't see the bone yet, but it was kind of long. It was. I said to myself, "There's going to be trouble because," I said, now this is going to be a target for Oscar De La Hoya. You're going to be
Hmm.
shooting for that cut, see if you can stop him with the cut, because it was hard to stop, knock out Chavez. Chavez was a good fighter. He had a good chin. He had good boxing skill. He can punch with either hand. But anything can happen in boxing. So, I gave him a couple of rounds. I would call in the doctor a couple of times during the fight. But in the fourth round, when I took him over against Dr. Omansky, I said, check him out. This is getting a little bad now. He checked him out. It was almost down to the bone.
Hmm.
And he said, Joy, it's time to stop it now. I just waved it off right there and stopped the fight. I saw that Chavez was taking punches that normally he wouldn't take.
Yeah.
He actually considered, he's trying, and all the blood was impairing his vision. I said to myself, I don't want to see this guy get knocked out. I know where it's going. He's like
Hmm.
fighting a blind man out there. It's not fair. So
Yeah.
I stopped it. I did the right thing to stop it, and nobody protested. He didn't protest. It was the right thing to do.
Absolutely. Okay. Evander Holyfield versus Riddick Bowe 1.
Well, that was an amazing heavyweight championship fight that took place
Hmm.
here in Las Vegas at Caesar's Palace outdoor. And I remember that Reddy Bowe, was undefeated and came out there with a good record. And Holyfield was, as you all well know, was one of the top heavyweights out there. Actually a light heavyweight. Then he went to cruiserweight. Then he went to heavyweight. He was
Yep.
one of the fighters that really had a lot of skills. He was a great Olympic champion, but when he went to the pros, he showed that he had a lot of skills.
Hmm.
So when he went out there with a ready boat, they were slugging it out. And I remember the 10th round was a very memorable round because it was a round where Holyfield hurt Bo, and then Bo came back. I think let's forget it. It was Holyfield. Holyfield hurt Bo. Bo was in trouble. Then Bo came back, and it was just one of those fights that both fighters took so much, and at the end of the round, the 10th round was one of the most exciting rounds. Holyfield almost went down from a punch. And then he came back after that. He was throwing punches. Ready Bo was trying to slug it out with him. He thought he had Holyfield gone, but it was almost Bo that went down almost at the end of the round. It was a good, great round. If you look at that round on Facebook, I mean, on YouTube channel, you'll see that it was one of the best rounds you ever want to see in boxing history.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. All right. Rest in peace, the late George Foreman versus Michael Moore.
Yeah, that was a great fight. I had the honor of refereeing George Foreman on 4 occasions on his return and the second time around, because the first time around, I didn't get to referee George Foreman. I did him after he came back, after he was retired for 10 years. He came back, he fought um, Jerry Cotier up in Reno. That's the one I did first. Then I did him against Jerry Cooney in Atlantic City, where he stopped Jerry Cooney in the second round. Then after that, he fought Michael Moore. That's the fight that I did when he fought Michael Moore. And George Foreman was losing every round. Every round he was losing. He wasn't getting beat up real bad, but he was losing. You can see on the scorecard. And every so often in between rounds, I would go into the corner just to check on him, make sure he was in good condition. And then the 10th round, the most memorable round you want to remember, he hit Michael Moore with a left hook, then a short right hand punch. Him with that short right hand punch, went down from the and I was counting 5, 6, 7. When I was 7, I said, man, this sucker ain't getting up. 8, 9, 10, that was it. He was out, and it was a great fight. I mean, the punch heard around the world.
Yeah, I remember when that happened. Nobody thought that's how it was going to play out.
Yeah.
All right, Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus Ricky Hatton.
Well, it was a good fight. Ricky Hatton's a good fighter. He came with a lot of, he had a big heart. He had, he was very aggressive. And one of the things that I told him in the dressing room was, I told referees to do your homework before you referee the fight, so you can see what kind of style these fighters have. And I know Ricky Hatton was a aggressive fighter, but sometimes he had a tendency of roughing it up, maybe holding too much inside, more like a wrestling thing than he throwing punches. And I said, he's a good fighter, man, but there's times I got to call break. There was too many holding. And holding is okay, but excessive holding is not okay.
Right.
And I would break him up every so often, and people they were booing me. The fans that came from Great Britain, they had like 5,000 fans flew in to see me in Las Vegas. He
Hmm.
had a big following, and they were booing me for every time I would break him up. But it was it's okay, like I said, but too much holding inside and
Hmm.
roughing it up. You got to say, all right, break. Yeah, you break him up in there, but it was just too much. And I believe it was in the 10th round, he threw a combination, and Floyd Mayweather hit him with a left hook and put him down. And he got up, and I saw right there. I had to stop it. They didn't protest the knockdown, but they protested me saying that I over officiated. I took too many. I did too many breaks during the fight. I didn't give Hatton a chance. Hatton's a good man, got a good heart. He's been great with the fans. Everybody loves him. I think
Hmm.
he's a great person. I have nothing against him. But you can't please everybody. I was not favoring Mayweather at all. I'm not friendly with no fighters out there. I never was and never will be. Even though I'm retired today, it's still hard for me to even get close with fighters. It's just something that I
Sure.
always had. I never like to fraternize with fighters, managers, promoters, anything like that. It's just not my style.
Okay. Amir Khan versus Marcos Maidana.
Yeah, that was a good fight, and Michael Maidana, I don't recall exactly that fight per se, but I believe uh, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Maidana lost the fight. Am I correct?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Amir Khan was a good fighter from Great Britain. He a
Hmm.
good puncher, and that was a good fight, but nothing too much I can remember. So many
Okay.
fights. I think
Sure.
176. That's one that I don't remember too much about. I got to go back on YouTube and watch it. But I know both fighters were great. I mean,
Hmm.
Maidana gave Floyd Mayweather a run for his life in that
Yeah, he
fight
did.
that they had. A lot of people thought that maybe he even beat Mayweather in that fight. But Amir Khan was a heck of a fighter, and they both showed a lot of talent. I believe. I'm not sure. Can you tell me? Can you correct me? Did Amir Khan stop him with a body shot? Or am I wrong?
I can't remember.
Okay. But I can tell you one thing. It was a great fight. And you fans out there, go on YouTube and watch the fight. I know it's
There
a
we
good
go.
one.
There we go. All right, I have one more of these. Mike
Yeah.
Tyson versus Larry Holmes.
My dad and Larry Holmes. Well, Larry Holmes, when he stopped Muhammad Ali, everybody was upset because Muhammad Ali was not the same anymore, but
Hmm.
Larry Holmes was in there to do his job, and he stopped Muhammad Ali. And Mike Tyson was a young fighter, up and coming, and he saw that. And Mike Tyson's hero, man. And he says, when he stopped Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson was very upset, and Mike Tyson kept that in his head all the time. Then, when Tyson was fighting Larry Holmes in Atlantic City, uh, Tyson, it was about 50, about six, well, it was about, gee, Mike Tyson was just coming up the ranks. He wasn't, well, he was already heavyweight champion. So it was in the early 90s, and I'm at the mid 90s, that fight took place. And Mike Tyson had put him down in one round. Then he put him down again twice in another round. And it was the fourth round. And as soon as Larry Holmes went down, I didn't even bother to count. I just waved it off and stopped it. But it was Mike was chasing him all around the ring until he finally caught him. Then I remember years later, I ran to Mike Tyson and said, Mike, what did Muhammad Ali tell you when he came to your corner before the fight? He told you something in your ear. What did he tell you? He said, kick his ass. And that was just what Mike Tyson did, because Mike Tyson wanted a revenge for what he did to Ali.
That's one of the most epic moments in boxing.
It was, yes. Yes,
All
it was,
right.
and
How
it
has
was in a,
boxing changed in the last 50 years, and has officiating evolved with it?
well, Larry Hazzard, commissioner in New Jersey, him and I were refereeing together. We started out together in '77. And Larry was a principal of a high school in New Jersey. And I was in New York working I was a casino operations manager for the El Conquistador, El San Juan, and the Palace Station casinos, Palace Station in Puerto Rico. And I used to report well, the casino manager had to report to me. I had to coordinate all the casino arrangement, the action report, the collections, and the booking for players of those city casinos from my New York office. So I had a lot of time, I had the luxury of talking on the phone a lot with Larry Hazzard. Every day we would talk. He was in his office, I was in my office, and we would talk about 3 or 4 times a day, creating different scenarios as for referees. We didn't like the way things were going as referees. We said, we have to let the fans know when there's a headbutt, we gotta touch it. I said, hey, come on, watch your head. This fighter, watch your head. If it's a fight on this side, you say, watch your head. If it's both fighters, you tell, hey, fighter, watch your head. So we created signals, hold him, keep the punches up, you know, and all kinds of signals we used to give to the fighters so the fans could know, well,
Hmm.
you warning him for what? You tell him verbally without no signals, then so you disqualify the guy, and the fans start booing you. You didn't even warn him. We didn't even see that coming. But I was telling the fighter all along to keep the punches up or to watch the headbutt, but the fans or the commentators didn't know what you were talking about. So we started creating the signals to hold him, low blows, keep the punches up, all kinds of no knockdown. We go below the waist. A lot of referees would go out there, no knockdown, no knockdown. And then Larry Hampton and I, we would say, when you say there's no knockdown, hey, you going like this, no knockdown. When you say stop the fight, what do? You go like this. So why are you going for both? You know, you confusing the fighters, you confusing the fans. We do do it below the waist. No knockdown and go like that with your head, with crisscrossing your hands like this below your waist. No knockdown, no knockdown. Then the fighters know and everybody knows you're not stopping the fight. You're saying it's a slip, and no knockdown was a
Hmm.
push. So we started revolutionizing the referees how to do your duties in the ring. The mouthpiece would tell the fighters in the dressing room prior to the fight. We go in the dressing room. We tell them, hey guys, we know you have a habit of hitting excessive holding, or your headbutt, or low blows, or you're spitting out mouth intentionally. We don't
Hmm.
want us in the fight today. I'm going to be watching out for that. And if you continue to doing that in this fight today, I will have no option but to start taking some points and maybe disqualify you. I don't want to do that. Okay, so we could do finals instructions in the ring. That's why we bring them together in the ring prior to the fight. After the ring announcer brings them together, we say, all right, fighters, we went over the rules of the dressing room. I want a good, clean fight. Obey by commands at all times. Protect yourselves at all times. Touch them up. And they touch them up, and that was it. But I already took control back in the dressing room. I already had
Hmm.
told them already the rules. That's why we said we're ready to win over the rules of the dressing room. So now they're ready though. So now you got in their head, well, I'm here to enforce the rules. Remember, guys, I'm fair, but I'm firm. Touch them up. And then the bell rings. But they have to remember that. And I tell referees, when you go out there to do your job, always be firm with your commands, but
Hmm.
be fair with the fighters, be fair with them and let them know. Sometimes you got to go in between rounds. You go to the corner, say, listen, I just warned you about excessive holding. I don't want excessive holding. You continue to hold. I'm gonna start taking some points, or I may disqualify you. So you take control of the fight, but actually you really take control of the fight back in the dressing room. That's where it all starts.
Okay. What are your thoughts on instant replay in boxing?
Well, we created that here in Las Vegas. Bob Bennett was the director at the time, and before Jeff Mullins took over, we started creating an instant replay. We knew that there was instant replay in so many sports, but not in boxing. And then we said we start the instant replay. It's only fair to both fighters, that they get a fair decision. If a fighter gets hit with a punch and he went down, but if you see the replay, you saw that the guy was stepping on his foot. He couldn't get away, and because he was stepping on his foot. He lost balance and he went down or he got tripped. Sometimes there's a headbutt, and the fighter said, the referee said it came from a punch. The replay showed it came from a headbutt. So we had to reverse that. So we put up a yellow light on the ring apron, and then the referee calls time. Then the timekeeper stops the clock. The timekeeper puts his yellow light up. The instant replay official, the review official, puts his light up. Then the referee comes over. He says the fighters to the neutral corner. He comes over to discuss with the review official what happened just now. He said, okay, we just saw the replay. You have to change our call. You call it a knockdown, but actually it was a slip. And the referee will not argue with you. He'll say, okay, I reverse the decision. So he let the judges know, don't score that a knockdown. It was a slip. Then they let the fight continue. This way you get a fair fight.
Okay. Are fighters of this generation any harder or easier to manage in the ring than other generations?
No, no, they're not. They're not. I tell you, it's all got to do with the referee's duty. You need a referee has experience and takes command of the fight. You can't have a weak referee in there who starts siding with a champion because he's a champion. No, you got to be
Right.
neutral. You got to look at fighter A, fighter B. I don't care who's the champion in there, whether it's Mike Tyson, whether it's Joe Palooka. You call it the way it is. And I remember Mike Tyson's last fight. I refereed his fight. Everybody said, "Joy, he's your favorite. You're one of his favorite referees." And why not? I said, "No, no. Why did I take 2 points from him? If I'm his favorite, why did I take 2 points when he headbutted Kevin McBride in the fight?" And so I had to take the 2 points from Mike Tyson. You gotta be there. A referee saying, "I'm a no nonsense referee. I'm here to do the job. I don't have a favorite fighter. I'm here I want to be remembered as a referee that did my job to the best of my ability. Was I perfect 100%? No. Did I make mistakes? Yes. We all make mistakes, but we learn from our mistakes sometimes to be a better official. And it took me a couple of years to get on the right track. And sometimes you make a little mistake here or there, but you know what? That you have to, fans have to accept that as a as a human being. We're human. We're all going to make mistakes, but you try not to make the mistake twice. Try to keep yourself. But if you have a tendency of repeat the same mistake over and over, then the commissioner has to make a decision. I
Yeah.
can't appoint this referee to any major fight because he can cause problems. He's a referee. He's not consistent. You got to be consistent when you work in the ring and let the fans, the fighters, the fans, the promoters, the manager, everybody know that Joe Smith was a heck of a referee. He did a good job all the time. I don't want that referee. Next thing you know, you get a reputation of not being a good referee. You make bad calls. Then the commission or the fighter will say, we don't want him as a referee. You have to justify why you don't want him as a referee. What has he done that you don't want him? If they can't justify the commission has a right to appoint whatever referees they want.
Speaking of the fans, what do you think is the number one thing that they misunderstand about your job?
Well, what they don't understand is why. See, we go to the trainings, we go to seminars where we learn a lot about concussive blows to the head, with a fighter taking punches to the head, and he's hit a concussive episode. He's not knocked down, but he's wobbly. He's wobbly. He's trying to get away from punches. His legs are not there. His body's there, but he's not coherent. Let's put it that way. He's not coherent.
Right.
Then you have to say to yourself, wait a minute. And you, me as an ex-fighter, I know where the fighter's hurt. He's ready. He's ready to go. Well, he's ready to go. That's what the referee should have the instinct of jumping in and stopping it, wave it off. Before it's too late. So you don't want to see fighters to get taken out on a stretcher. You want to stop a
Right.
punch too soon than a punch too late.
What's the toughest call you ever had to make?
Uh, the toughest call I ever had to make. Well, uh, I one of the toughest calls was with Victor Ortiz for Floyd Mayweather. Victor
Hmm.
Ortiz. It was kind of controversial, but people don't know the rules. You know, when when Victor Ortiz, what a heck, a nice gentleman, really sweetheart of a guy. But those that don't know him, I know him because I got to meet with him and talk with him after I retired from boxing. I got to know him. What a great person he is. And he told me, Joe, I felt so bad that day when I headbutted Floyd Mayweather. My corner told me to headbutt him intentionally, and I did it. He said, that was not my style, Joe. And I said, yeah, I know. And that's why I had to take the points from you. I said, but then Victor Ortiz went to hug him. He kissed Mayweather one time on the cheek, kissed him on the cheek. Then he hugged him another time. Then when I said time in to get them going again, when I put my hand time in, he went to hug him again. Like he put his arms out like this. He left himself wide open with his arms out here. He went like this to hug him, and
Hmm.
Mayweather, bing, bing,
Yep.
clocked him. And it was kind of hard for me. I said, damn, I hate to do this, but I had to count because I know I called time in. I know he knew time was in, but you got to keep your guards up at all times.
Hmm.
He let his guards down, and Floyd Mayweather knocked him out. And fans didn't like that. And Larry Merchant said it best on TV, one of the commentators that night. He said, it was a legal sucker punch. Yeah.
Yeah,
It-
that was a
it-
good night for Larry.
yeah. Mayweather was interviewed by uh, by Larry Merchant, and Larry Mayweather told him something, and Larry Merchant said, "If I was uh, 30 years younger, I'd kick your ass," something like that. He didn't like the
Another
way
iconic moment in boxing.
it was what. I mean, but he got to give Larry Merchant credit for having the cojones to say,
Yeah, yeah.
"Hey, you know." If I was 30 years younger, I'll kick your ass. You never hear that come from a commentator, but he had to say it
No,
because he didn't like the way Mayweather spoke to him.
yeah. What is a dream fight maybe you wish you could have refereed?
Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali.
There we go.
If
Okay.
they would have both been in their prime, I would have loved to have been the referee for that. It would have been a great fight. And I saw one of my mentors was Zach Clayton, who was the referee. You remember he had a black and white striped shirt. It
Hmm.
was Rumble in the Jungle, George Foreman and Muhammad Ali. That was the referee was Zach Clayton. He used to be a basketball player for the Harlem Globetrotters.
Okay.
So he had a lot of good footwork, and he's teach me a lot. We'll be in Atlantic City doing the fights. He would come to Atlantic City to referee a lot, and the same cause I would referee. And I remember I was starting out, and we up in the room. They gave us a room to go change before the fight, and we'd be up in the room as we were changing. We said, Joe, I want you. He's telling me this. I want you to be like a cat in there. He would get in position and tell me how to move. And you got to move like this. You got to move in. You got to move out. He said, you got to do it. I would practice that, and I would practice his techniques that he taught me. And I love that. And I also loved Arthur McCanty. I like his style. He was another no-nonsense referee. Yeah, he was clean cut. He had sharp commands and whatnot. He was the dean of all referees. Besides Larry Hazard and myself, we revolutionized referee. We gotta thank those guys like Arthur McCain, Zach Clayton, and they were guys that taught us a lot. And we
Hmm.
learned a lot. And then we took it under our own creative ideas how to make things a little bit better for boxing, and that's where boxing is at today.
Okay. If you had to pick your personal Mount Rushmore of boxing champions, the top four greatest boxers in history, who would you put up there?
Well, I have to go with Sugar Ray Robinson. I have to go with Roberto Duran, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali.
That's a good Mount Rushmore, man. That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. As you know, the reason I do these interviews is to try to reach people who might be struggling with the millions of things that life puts in front of us these days. If you had a message for people watching, what would that message of hope be?
Well, first of all, you have to believe in yourself and believe in God. You know, I could tell you, I'll give you an example. I was hit with COVID after I retired from boxing. I got hit with COVID and I was hospitalized for 5 months. And a lot of people didn't think I was going to make it. I was in real bad shape. And I remember Mike Tyson called me up twice while I was in the hospital. And, I thank him for that. And, you know, it's you have to believe in yourself, believe in God, and don't give up. Don't ever give up, no matter how bad things may be. Say to yourself, you take a deep breath and say to yourself, you know, I can do it. I can make it. I'm needed out there. I got to help other people out there. I'm not finished yet with my life. There's so much I want to do. But one of my inspirations in my life was my daughter, who
Okay.
got involved in an auto accident
Oh,
a week after I did the Oscar De La Hoya and Chavez fight in '95, and she ended up quadriplegic, and so she's paralyzed from the neck down in a wheelchair. And she's alive and very pretty. She drives. She still drives today. Amazing how she drives. And matter of fact, she went out today, Sunday. She went out. She had to go to get some stuff at the drugstore. She wanted to go by herself. I said, "Want me to get it for you?" Because I always do her all the favors, go and get things for her. But no, she wants to do things on her own. She wants to be independent. And I learned from her, instead of a daughter learning from her father, I learned one lesson from her was never to give up and believe in yourself and believe that you can do anything. So don't quit. Don't be a quitter. Things can get
yeah.
rough. You get knocked down, but get back up and keep going. So I learned when I was in the hospital, those 5 months in the hospital, and I was in bad shape. I lost 40 pounds while I was in there. And I said to myself, man, and I can't complain to people who come in. No visitors allowed for 5 months, but the doctors and nurses will come in. How you doing, Mr. Cortez? How you feel, Joe? And I said, oh, I'll be okay. They said, how come you're so positive with everything? I said, well, my daughter's made me so positive. My daughter, she'll be in the bed for the rest of her life. And she can't get up. She can't get up and walk around. So how can I complain when I know that eventually I'll get up out of this bed? They used to get me to do a little walking here and there, a little therapy, a
Hmm.
little, and every day they have me walking maybe 15, 20 steps that way, 15, 20 steps coming back, go back into my bed. That's how I started after being there 5 months. But I lost all my muscles, I lost everything. But I'm still back up. I still got my muscles here. I still got a little spark of the old flash.
I
Thanks to
love
my,
it, man.
thanks to my daughter and thanks to God.
Absolutely. That's good stuff. Um, I want to ask you a few questions that are kind of goofy. This is to bridge the gap between boxing Hall of Fame referee and the normal guy, the redneck in Arkansas, maybe my neighbor, maybe the coworker, just to make you, because most people, I'm sure view people in the fight business as having a little something different about them than maybe the guy who works in a kitchen. So this is to make you relatable to the viewers. Who do you like better, the Mets or the Yankees?
Well, you know what? I'm a New Yorker. And one day I spent two games, a doubleheader with the Mets inside the clubhouse. Inside the clubhouse, I couldn't go in the dugout where they sit doing the game, but inside the clubhouse because Darryl Strawberry and Keith Fernandez wanted to meet me because
Wow.
I used to go to a delicatessen in New York. I had a deli in Yonkers, New York, and the guys come to my deli and say, Joe, Darryl Strawberry and Keith Fernandez are big fight fans. I told them that I know you. They said, when you gonna bring Joe out to see us? I want to meet him. So one Sunday I went out there for a double header, and I spent the whole day with them. They were so nice, and I came into the dugout with the game, but I came before the game where they were just warming up. I came out there, and I was in the dugout. I was standing there and looking around, and here come Keith Fernandez came running. Then Darryl Strawberry came running. They came to they both gave me big hugs. I said, wow. So I love the Mets. They gave me a Met shirt, like a sports shirt like this, and it said
Hmm.
the Mets on it. They gave it to me, and I had a good time. I watched the game from inside the clubhouse, with the locker rooms, and
Hmm.
they had big TVs in there, and it was a nice experience. But I also love the Giants, the San Francisco Giants when they were the New York Giants, because I got to hang out a lot with Willie Mays. Willie Mays
Oh,
and I
wow.
Willie Mays and I became good friends in Puerto Rico, where I was managing I was executive assistant manager of the El Conquistador Hotel. And I was there, and before I became casino operations manager for my New York office, I was first 8 years in Puerto Rico working there. And my wife Sylvia was the clubhouse manager. She ran the clubhouse, the pro shop, the health spa, the stables, the whole stables, the tennis, and the golf course was Sylvia ran all of that. And I was the assistant manager of the hotel. So I handled all the VIPs. And Willie Bay, when they had the American Airlines Golf Classic 2 consecutive years, I got to hang out with Willie Mays, Joe DiMaggio, Elton Howard, Bobby Bonds, Thurman Munson, may he rest in peace. Uh, uh, so many great ones, Sadie Colfax. It was so many
Wow.
great individuals come out there and hang out there. But Willie Mays and I used to hang out day and night. We used to hang out at the daytime. Then at night time, we would take off. We go to San Juan, visit his friends at some other restaurant and bars that they had in San Juan. We would drive about 40 miles there, 40 miles back. But Willie and I were constantly hanging out. Bobby Bonds, Barry Bonds' father, Bobby Bonds, he was also a good friend of mine. He used to sing a cappella, so did I. So he would play the piano. We'd be in the Sovereign's Lounge, the sports lounge, a bar that we had. And that's where that kid called brother, Freddie Cole, used to entertain there. But after he would leave, then Bobby Bonds and myself, everybody would leave, and we would be there just singing a cappella, and Bobby Bonds would play the piano. And one day I ran into Bobby Bonds here in Las Vegas, and I told Barry, your father and I were good friends, but he used to play the piano and sing a cappella. He said, Joe, not many people know that, Joe. I said, yeah, your father and I, we used to really hang out. Good guy. May he rest in peace. But Willie Mays, also may he rest in peace. Willie and I were the best of friends of all.
Wow. Wow. All right. Being a New Yorker, you're an expert in pizza, I'm assuming. So you're the best person to ask this question. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Not in my days. Not in my day. I guess it started down in Hawaii. The pizza, the pineapple on pizza. In New York, it was just a plain yeah, cheese pizza, and that was it. But one of the places I loved very much that they had good pizza was in Hoboken, New Jersey.
Okay.
Hoboken, New Jersey, they had a good pizza. The pizza was about maybe about 12 inches wide. I mean, it was big, one of the biggest size pizza. It was like cutting a big pizza in 4 pieces. That's the size of a pizza. Now you cut them into 12 pieces. And Hoboken, it was huge. One huge piece. It was one of the best pizzas I ever had in my life. That was like having a whole meal.
That's great. All right. Are you a coffee drinker?
I'm not a coffee drinker, and I just drink my iced tea. That's it, or hot tea.
Okay.
I'm not a coffee guy. People say I can't start my day without coffee. I say I can't do that. And I don't let nothing control my body. It's all here. It's all mental. You say, well, I can't focus. I can't do things right. I gotta have my coffee in the morning before I get up to go to work. What? No, forget it. Just believe in yourself and believe that you can do anything, no matter what's in front of you, no obstacles, nothing. I'm gonna do what I want to do. Nothing gonna control me. So coffee, I think, controls people to some extent, and they get jittery.
Absolutely.
They get jittery if they don't drink it. That's not me.
If you were going to referee one more fight and you could choose the location, would it be New Jersey, Las Vegas, or New York City?
I would say New York City. Just for a simple reason, I'm a New Yorker, and I fought 6 times. Is it one, two,
Mhm.
three, four, five? I fought 6 times at Madison Square Garden. And I refereed there one time, well, many times at the Phil Forum. I remember one time I refereed with Frodo Benitez against a guy named Hilton from Canada, a Canadian fighter. I refereed a 10 round fight. But I think if I have to make one more comeback and do it, I would rather make it in Madison Square Garden with a sellout crowd. But
Okay.
but talking about sellout crowds, there's something, a question I'm sure you don't have for me today, but I'll tell you. The largest crowd in boxing history, referee, was Julio Cesar Chavez and Greg Haugen, another fighter, Haugen, may he rest in peace. He just passed away last month. Our referee Greg Haugen and Julio Cesar Chavez with 136,000 fans in Mexico City, the largest crowd in boxing history up to this day.
Say that number again.
136,000, no, 132,000.
Wow.
132,000 in Mexico City. There hasn't been a larger crowd than that before or after. I was
Wow.
I had the honor of refereeing. Remember, Don King put that card together, and he had 6 championship fights on that card that day. And it was an
Wow.
honor, it was an honor for me. When I walked out, it was a Steakers Stadium. When I walked out, I looked to as far as I could see to the right, as far as I could see to the left. The crowd, it was unbelievable walking out there. And I remember I stopped the fight. I believe it was in the 5th round. I had to stop Haugen, who took quite a bit of punches. He got knocked down in the 1st round. I think Chavez did want to, you know, well, he didn't want to let him off the hook that easy. He wanted to punish him because he punished him for about the next 4 or 5 rounds before I stopped it. It was all because Haugen said to Chavez doing the promo before the fight, he was saying, you fought a bunch of nobody. You fought a bunch of Tijuana taxi drivers. You know, and Chavez got pissed off. He said, I'm going to whip your butt when I get you in that ring. I mean, what you mean I fought a bunch of Tijuana taxi drivers? You know, 'cause he had a good record. And Haugen was trying to get into his head, to get him upset. So when he told him that, Chavez got upset. And then Chavez did punish him for about 5 rounds before I stopped it in Mexico City.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that many people looks like.
And
All right.
then I did the largest indoor crowd. It was kind of controversial decision. It was against Chavez, against Pernell Whitaker at the Alamo Dome in Texas, and be in Houston, I think, I believe Houston, Texas, the Alamo Dome. And there was the largest indoor crowd was 65,000 fans there in the Alamo Dome. And there was a fight was a draw. A lot of people thought that Whitaker won. You know, I didn't make a decision because I was not concentrating on scoring. I was just doing my job as a
Okay.
referee. But it was a good fight.
Okay. Favorite animal at the zoo?
Yeah, Council Zoo.
No, your favorite animal at the zoo.
Oh, my favorite animal at the zoo. Oh my God. I
I'm a
used to love
redneck. Sorry.
uh, so many there was, we had the Bronx Zoo in the Bronx, and then we had
Hmm.
a zoo in Manhattan and Central Park. They were there. They were great. I love all kinds of animals. I'm an animal person.
Okay. Frank Sinatra or Tony Bennett?
uh, Tony Bennett was one guy that would love to have met. He's had a great voice. He was singing up until in late mid '80s,
Hmm.
and Frank Sinatra. I never got to meet. I never got to meet either one of them, but they were both great singers. Frank Sinatra was one of my favorite singers. But Sammy Davis, I was watching him last night. They had a 75th anniversary here in Las Vegas years ago, and it was the all the old stars, and they were all at this event here in Las Vegas. And I was watching these guys, Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis. They were all together. What a great
Wow.
group of the Rat Pack.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. You've lived an amazing life, man. um,
It's been great. I can't complain, what I will do, I will help other people out there. My thing is helping people wherever I don't care, from all walks of life, whatever color you are, whatever nationality, whatever party you belong to. I love people. I just want to be fair with everybody, and I want to just be lovable and caring at the same time.
that's great. I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about your podcast. I subscribed a couple days ago, and everything I've watched so far, I love. Tell the viewers what you have going on there.
Well, I have yesterday was Friday. I had sorry, the day before yesterday, Friday, I had a lady by the name of Leah Roberts. And Leah Roberts is the consul, uh, honorary consul ambassador to Romania. And I know her for like 32 years, but I first moved out to Vegas 34 years ago. She's one of my first friends. So I had her on my show Friday, and we were talking about her duties as an ambassador to from Nevada to Romania, and we just talk about her duties and what's her role as an ambassador. I also bring fighters on there, like I had on last year. I had Evander Holyfield. I was talking to him about the ear biting incident when Mike Tyson bit his ear, things like that, and how he felt about that. And he was he won. He had some. He won. I believe he won like 4 heavyweight titles, and he was one. He's a hell of a nice person, and but I think Tyson's a real sweetheart as well, George Foreman. They're all good guys. But I've had a lot of fighters on the show, but I like to give opportunity to up and coming fighters who are just starting out, and I want to give them opportunities so people give them some exposure. People get to know who they are and whatnot. But I bring doctors, I bring lawyers, I bring law enforcement individuals. I bring people from all walks of life on the show because I can talk about anything. And to make it easy for them, I tell them, you know what, give me some questions. It makes it easy for me too. Give me some questions you want me to ask you before the show. To email me or text me a question for me to ask them, and I ask them those questions, and it makes the show run easier, and
Sure.
it makes it easy for both sides.
Absolutely. What's the best way for friends and fans of you to keep up with what you have going on these days?
Well, just watch my show, the Joe Cortez Show. It's on Facebook. Watch that, and you can see what the kind of guy I really am, the kind of heart that I have for people by carrying weights. And people think that fighters are really people who are rough and tough, and I'm an easygoing guy. I'm always trying to find ways where I can help people out. I like to help entertainers and get them on the right track as far as getting gigs, introduce them to people. I attend a nice event called the Joe Brown Luncheon. And the first Wednesday of every month, I go to a luncheon here at the Air Hotel, and I talk. I was a speaker there last year, but he has a speaker every month. He has a speaker to go there and talk about their careers, and it's good to go to events like that. You get to meet people, and you interact with them, and you socialize, and it's good for marketing. And that's why I get to meet a lot of individuals and get them to be on my show and be that they all know me because I get introduced to the crowd every time I'm there to the people that come to for the luncheon. They introduce me, and people come up to me after the show. They want to. After the luncheon, they want to meet me and talk with me and say, "How can we get on your show?" So it's easy for me to get plenty of visitors from all walks of life on my show every Friday.
That's awesome. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we finish up?
You want to tell your few viewers out there, those of you that are going into boxing or any sport, believe in yourself, take care of yourself, keep yourself in good physical condition, maintain yourself healthy, eat right. For today, I weigh 162 this morning, the same weight I weighed when I moved to Las Vegas 34 years ago. I try to keep myself physically fit, keep myself going, because, keep yourself healthy is important. So I think you guys out there, keep yourself. There's a lot of youngsters today. They don't do as much activities as we used to when I was growing up. Today they are behind their computer or the phone, and a lot of social media. So they don't exercise as much as they should. I like to see individuals. Get out there, get involved. I'm 82 years young this year. I'll be 82, and I keep myself going. I still got a little spark of the old flash. And I said, if the right one will get you, the left one will. Okay.
That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Like,
Joe, thank you so much for
and
thank you. So,
remember,
oh,
I'm fair, but I'm firm.
that's right. Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for sharing your stories, insight, and wisdom. Joe, you have had a front row seat to history, and your voice has become part of boxing's soundtrack. We salute you for being not just fair, but firm and a true guardian of the sport. I'll get this uploaded. I'll send you a copy. For any reason you don't like it, let me know and I'll take it down, Joe.
No, no, no. Everything is perfect. I like everything. I just want you guys to know that you have to give opportunities for other individuals to get out there and do their things in life, and to believe in yourself, believe in God, and making sure that you treat everybody with kindness, with
Mhm.
love, understanding, and what they got to tell officials. Or anybody in life, you want to get ahead in life, do it on your own merit. Don't be kissing ass to get to a position. Earn it, whatever you do, whether you're a doctor, a law enforcement, a fighter, whatever, you got
Mhm.
to do it in your own merit. Earn it. Don't kiss ass to get there.
Absolutely. Joe, thank you very much for sharing your time. I appreciate it so much. I hope you have a great day. I look at you as a friend at this point. I hope you feel the same way about me, man.
We should do. Wish you the best of luck with your show. Keep up the good work and keep a
Thank you
guard
very
up
much.
all the time. And love everybody with your show.
All right. Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Take care. Bye bye.